Okay, so Replit recently introduced Agent 4, which lets you ideate, design, and build in the same interface. I wanted to put this to a test for real application, not just yet another demo. My team recently won a Google Hackathon. We created a very complex system that helps founders with their go-to-market strategy by doing competitive analysis, what type of monetization strategy to use, and what type of channels to explore. And I wanted to see if I can rebuild this with Replit. Okay, so here's what I was able to build with Replit Agent 4. I'll walk you through a step-by-step process of how I was able to do this. You provide the name of your product, a detailed description. It asks you a couple of questions regarding what exactly you're building, and then it helps you run competitive analysis. Now, here is how the results are going to look like. You have the different channels, and it also assigns its score. It does competitive analysis by looking at your competitors. It will tell you what exactly they're doing, what is working for them, and it will even let you create assets that you can use for your go-to-market strategy. Okay, so here's a video script that it created. It also created some social media posts, also different emails that you can send, and it even creates the first version of the website for you, for your product. Now, all of this is grounded in real research. The agent follows a playbook that has been validated on a number of different companies. And based on the type of the company, it proposes different channels. Now, in terms of functionality, I think it gets really close to the version that we built during the hackathon, which means you can build really powerful applications with Replit. Now, thanks to Replit for giving me early access and sponsoring this video. Okay, so let me walk you through how exactly did I build this with Agent 4, which is a very powerful system. And in the process, I'm going to show you some really neat capabilities. So all of this started with this prompt that I provided. Now, this is more of a generic prompt, but later on, I included more of the recipes that drives the actual agent. I progressively kept adding different features. Now, the beauty of Agent 4 is that it can do long horizon tasks. And one thing which I really wanted to make sure was that everything is grounded in a real playbook. So I provided this GTM playbook, and it's able to not only extract data from it, but build on top of it. Now, this is a very collaborative experience where you're working with the agent together. It's able to find bugs, test them, fix them, and you can provide your feedback. In the rest of the video, we're going to build a simple web app. And in the process, I'm going to show you all the different features that Replit offers with Agent 4. Now, this is the web interface that you're going to see when you sign up. Here, you have multiple different options. You can select website, mobile app, slides, design, 3D games. And the way they have set up Agent 4 is that it's the same space where you can ideate, design, and then implement. So let's say we're going to start with the design. I want to create a text to image application where the user can provide a text description of the image they want. We're going to use the OpenAI GPT image model to create multiple variations. At the moment, keep it to 4 different variations. Then the user should be able to select an image after the generation and provide further instructions to edit that image. You can also use the plan mode, but we're going to just use the design. Also, there are specific skills that you can incorporate. These are extremely helpful depending on what you're trying to build. You can bring in Figma designs directly, but at the moment, we're going to just use this agent. Okay, so right now the agent is doing pretty comprehensive research on what exactly the API specs looks like. And you'll notice that it opens this design canvas. Now, in our case, I did comprehensive research on OpenAI API endpoints, and it's also using a design sub-agent that is going to build the initial front end for us. Now, in the process, the agent actually validates everything that it's doing. So for example, in this case, it took a screenshot to see exactly what it built. Okay, so here's what it created. You can create multiple different designs or variations of the same website or app. So if we click on this, you can either click on reimagine. Here are multiple different options, or you can provide a prompt to reimagine this website in a specific design style. Now, as an example, I selected this explore different approaches preset, and right now it is exploring 4 different ideas to recreate this website. Now, for a more concrete example, we can go back to our GTM website, and here I can select this, and I'm going to ask it, can you create 3 different variations of this website in the style of Vercel, Stripe, and linear website? Now, there are 3 different agents which are working in parallel to create these different variations. And for our text to image generator, it actually came up with 4 different design ideas. So one of them is a terminal based, which looks pretty neat. The other one is gallery fest, conversation thread, and is still working on the split studio version. Now, these are 4 different agents that are working in parallel. And this brings me to these parallel agents that you can run for building different features. Okay, so let's say in my case, I like the terminal design more compared to the other ones. So I can just ask it to preview this and then build it. So we can provide a prompt, create a scenic mountain lake at sunset. I actually like the aesthetics of this one. Okay, so the images are here. It also added this black and white or grayscale effect, which actually looks pretty neat. So let's say I'm going to ask it to build this design, and then we're going to use this as a basis for further functionality addition. This version is ready. Now the beauty is you can work on multiple different features in parallel. So you can assign agents tasks. For example, we're going to ask it, add the ability for the user to provide text description and generate videos based on that description, or select an image that is generated and use that as a basis to create a video. And you can run multiple different tasks in parallel. You can also attach the same skills, Figma design, or provide a reference design. Now, while that is building, we can actually look at some of the designs that it created for our GTM agent. I think my previous design was based on the linear style. Now, all of them look pretty decent, right? But as always, you should treat them as a starting point and then build on top of those. Now, in this case, we use the plan mode so we can actually see what exactly it is thinking about doing. And if you want, you can revise the plan, right? But we're going to start building and let's see what it does. Okay, so something really interesting here. It says Gemini skills says audio video generation output is not supported. And then it started looking up OpenAI integration. So it's exploring different options to see if the user can provide their API key, and then it uses that to generate videos. Very interesting. This is actually pretty awesome because I think the agent itself is really resourceful, right? So it did some research and then it is thinking about using the replicate. Now, I, as a user, have to provide the replicate API token, which is absolutely fine. This is fascinating that the agent knows its limitations of the platform and constraints it's working under, and then it's able to propose actions around it, which is pretty great. Okay, so I had some credits on replicate, so I'm going to just provide that and let's see what happens. Okay, so something interesting, it actually validates its implementation, which is really good. So right now I think it was having some issues with replicate API, and it seems like it's able to look up the documentation and now updating its action based on those. Okay, so the implementation is complete and it's ready to be merged to the main branch. The only change that I asked it to make was to change the model because the model that it selected does not support image as an input for video generation. So let me show you how the output actually looks like. So here's what it created along with the initial prompt and the ability to edit selected images. Now you can directly start with a video from a text, or you can select an animated image, or you can select one of the generated images and select it for a video creation. So let's say create a scenic scene of mountain lake at sunset. All right, so let's send this in. Okay, so here we have multiple different images. Now we can either provide a subsequent prompt to edit the image, or I can add this command. I actually really like what it did. with these terminal commands, and it changes colors, and we can say something like add boat floating in the middle of the water. All right, let's send this. Now this video generation model is pretty quick, so we should get the video pretty quickly. Okay, so here's a video that it generated. It's 5 seconds long. It does actually have audio, which is pretty neat. Now, once you're happy, you can just click apply changes to the main, and this is going to take all the changes to the main branch. So this gives you the ability to have multiple different agents running in parallel, working on different features simultaneously. And then once you're happy, you can just bring them into your main application. Okay, now here's the thing. If you have the web application and you want to create something around it, so let's say in this case, I wanted to create a website for this, create a landing page for this application. So here's the landing page that he created, which looks pretty sick. And all of these things are AI generated. So these images are not stock images. It actually generated these images for the website. This could be a really good starting point for the landing page of the app that we built. And now I can work with the agent to further refine this and make sure everything is accurate. So Replit Agent 4 really makes it easy for you to ideate, design, and then actually build and test and deploy within the same platform, which is pretty incredible. So I'll highly recommend to check them out. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. And as always, see you in the next one.